Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with more spoilers from Modern Masters. So far this is looking like a very spicy set. I did not get to doing Market Monday because, man, they spoil everything in like the middle of the night. And so I waited for more spoilers yesterday, and they just never came until very late. So I think that all of these videos going forward will have a little bit of Market Monday flavor to them, because I'll try to talk about the impact of these particular cards will have on like what cards are going to be primed for purchasing. Basically, whatever either archetype enablers or archetypes that are completely missed in this Modern Masters 27 reprint are going to skyrocket in price. The rest of these cards, of course, are going to crash because I've still talked with many different vendors and shops, and the supply of this thing is insane compared to the last time around. One store in particular, man, I need to do some research on this because this is really starting to, if you saw my local game store video, it's starting to make me extremely mad that one store can have over 1,800. Let me repeat that. 1,800 pre-sold Modern Masters 2017 boxes on eBay. And then you go and search the zip code, and there's no local game store in that zip code from those eBay stores. So something's not right there. It's very hard. Like a lot of these, maybe they have different names for their eBay than they do for their actual physical locations. But I mean, even like I said, the zip codes aren't matching up. You'll find game stores a little bit out of their zip codes or a little bit out of what they've said, their store's located. And you can't even find at like no website, no Facebook page, nothing. So we'll just get past that. That's another, like I said, that's another gripe for another day. Let's get on to these spoilers. So the first one here is Ranger of Eos. Everyone knows my love for this card because Ranger of Eos is a very key piece in the Soul Sisters deck. Rich over at Gathering Magic did a beautiful Did You Know series that I did the voice over for Soul Sisters. And, we talked pretty exclusively about Ranger of Eos for a whole part of it. A huge key piece in that particular deck. You see it every now and again in some other decks that go and get one-drops. Like even the Martyr proc decks will run Ranger just as pure card advantage. And I think that it's one of the more expensive pieces in Soul Sisters. I don't know exactly. I know it's got to be over 10, right? I know it's expensive. It's been forever since I checked the price on Ranger because I've owned them, and so it's, there's no point to really. But the Ranger is a key 3 of or 4 of usually in that deck. It allows you to go get either Martyr, allows you to go get Sarah's Ascendant, it allows you to go get any one of the Soul Sisters. I've had other cards in the past like the Dryad, whenever a spell goes to the graveyard, exiles it as like to combat like Storm, those type of decks. So this card gets better and better with the more cards printed, as the more one-drops out there in existence, the better of a toolbox-based card this gets. Speaking of toolbox, Snapcaster Mage is the next one on this list. The Snapcaster Mage is insanely good in Modern, as it is, again, it gets better and better with the most cards. This is heavily played in any blue deck. A lot of times it's the only point of going into blue because of just the sheer card advantage that this gets. But its favorite target of all time would probably be Lightning Bolt. The Snapcaster Bolt is one of those combos that can turn a control deck into an aggro deck very quickly. Just even yesterday I died to Bolt, Snapcaster Bolt, attack in, and I'm like, okay, yep, that's a thing. And I mean, right there was 11 damage, and yeah, I think it was only, by that point it was only like turn 4 or something, and then the opponent was now the aggressive deck, and then just a few more swings or lightning bolts later, I was dead. So Snapcaster Mage is a little bit disappointing being as a mythic. We were hoping that it was going to be a rare. I disagree with the Snapcaster as a mythic. I really wish they'd go back to the rarities being mythical abilities, and rares just being kind of like really good cards, but not quite mythical abilities. And they used to, I have to go find an old article when they stated that's what they were going to do, and then they changed their entire tune about the Return to Ravnica era. I would say they started, Snapcaster Mage in Innistrad, of course, was a rare, and now it's been bumped up to a mythic, and they did that just because it's expensive cards, so they can keep the price range reasonable. So it doesn't crash the price. I don't know. I really wish the Snapcaster Mage would have been a rare, would have just shot up the value of these boxes, and this is still continued to go forward, going to be a tough card to get in Modern. It's going to be a chase card for sure. and it's going to keep back certain archetypes just because of its hefty price tag. We already know about Griselbrand. Griselbrand is actually quite low because it was a GP promo, but this card sees a ton of play, especially in the new Carry Zev Expertise decks. Speaking of Carry Zev Expertise, I've got a sweet brew coming up with Carry Zev's Expertise that tries to utilize a different combo that no one's trying to do quite yet. Be looking forward to that. I'll have to give a shout out to the Facebook fan that sent me his list, and I've been working on it, and I think I've got it pretty much tuned at this point. Of course, it still needs a little bit of testing before. Griselbrand is not in that deck, but Griselbrand works with breaking and entering as a basically another reanimation strategy with the Carry Zev Expertise, and those type of decks are getting quite popular, so I think the Griselbrand is going to be able to keep its price tag at the Mythic. The whole reason why it's low right now is just it was that GP promo. GPs, of course, had record numbers throughout the 2016 season, and therefore there's just so many of these in existence. On to the next card that was spoiled is one of my favorite cards ever printed, which is Bonfire of the Damned. This card has Miracle, X, and red, deals X damage to our player and each creature he or she controls. If anyone played during this time period, this was an insanely good card. It gets a little bit better in Modern as you can set it up with cards like Noxious Revival. However, it really hasn't seen a lot of play I've seen it in some Tron decks every now and again, which sounds kind of awkward in Tron, but you can see that it's pretty good if you can Miracle it, and it's pretty good if you can put a ton of mana into it, and that's what Tron does best. But the deck that I've really seen this in some sideboards, I've tested it myself, is in decks like Skred that try to go the distance and then just have like this as another another a big miracle spell that can shift the game in your advantage. But right now, this is kind of going to be more of your low-end Mythic that you're not going to want to pull from the set. But compared to Mythics of the past, Modern Masters 1 and Modern Masters 2, there's definitely been worse ones, like Comet Storm, that used to have this slop. So I'm really okay with Bonfire. We need some of these filler Mythics, and a filler Mythic that does have the chance of seeing play, and in my opinion has the chance of actually seeing a lot of play in Modern in the right meta. I'm very, very happy for this reprint in that slot. Another one is Thragtusk. Thragtusk is starting to see play in these, what I like to call tooth and nail lists, tooth and nail decks. It's basically these green ramp decks that are like, they kind of have the tooth and nail shell and use the Nightglue Shrine of Nyx. But then they decide that Tooth and Nail is just overkill, because usually you win so many games just by the sheer card advantage. In fact, that's how I would run Tooth and Nail. A lot of times would have the Tooth and Nail main, and almost every matchup it'd get sided out, and then I'd bring in a ton of Thragtusks. And Thragtusk just is very good with any deck that likes to ramp up. In Modern, it's insanely good because it gains you 5 life and leaves back a 3/3 green beast. Of course, they're just taking a lot of the good strategies from the Innistrad. So you still have the Restoration Angel Thragtusk combo, which everyone is probably still sick of to this day because it just dominated that meta at that point in time. So Thragtusk is a cool card. At rare, I'm glad they didn't make it a Mythic because, it's not worth a lot of money. But again, it's starting to see some play in these green ramp decks, as well as even, I think I've seen it in decks like Scapeshift. Sometimes people like the Obstinate Baloth, just because the Obstinate Baloth being discarded, gaining 4 life is a lot better versus Liliana, and just particular other discard type decks. You can get a free 4/4 into play, gain 4 life. Comes out a turn earlier. So yeah, that's the upside to Baloth over Thragtusk. The next card, which I do think that for a healthy, they do need Restoration Angel. I think these are quite cheap though right now. I'm not sure if they're that expensive, but they're over the $5 mark. So it's another rare that at least has value. And this rare Restoration Angel is not worth a lot of money just because it was a pre-release promo, I believe. Either a launch day or a pre-release promo. So there's just tons of them out there in existence. And the Restoration Angel does see play in certain Death and Taxes or Flicker-based strategies in Modern. And it still does see play in Kiki Chord as the target to then go make Kiki infinite. So I think it's a good reprint for Modern. This is probably the last reprint it needs for quite a while, as we'll shift the price down to the $5 range for, I would say, 2 to 3 years. I have a hard time unless it sees like a tier 1 strategy, just with the amount of supply out there really becoming a valuable card. But again, it's a sweet reprint. This seems, look right there, it's got Thragtusk and Snapcaster Mage and Ranger targets right off the bat. So I think there's going to be some really, really spicy decks that are from sealed or from draft from Modern Masters. It seems like you will be able to draft this set. I think the price is going to be hard for Modern Masters boxes to really hit above the $200 threshold just with the amount out there. Speaking of shameless self-promotion, we do have boxes still over at Rogue Deck Builder for $200 plus I think it's just $10 shipping. All of that goes to support Rogue Deck Builder. Our latest goal that I have for Rogue Deck Builder is to get Rogue Deck Builder sleeves done. I'll have to show you a picture of those. We've already got them designed. But the problem with custom sleeves is they're almost $5,500 to make. I'm going to fund a fourth of it by myself, so I'm going to basically cough up what $1,300 of my own. I'm currently saving all of the Patreon money towards sleeves, and I think that Patreon, I'm going to say, is going to fund another fourth of it, so another $1,300. Then I'm going to use the sale of products from Rogue Deck Builder, another $1,300, and then we're going to try to sell $1,300 worth of cards to get those funded. So I'm just laying it out there, kind of transparency of how I'm going to fund the sleeves. As soon as we get those sleeves, I'm going to send them off to the patrons that have been signing up for that kind of tier. And we do have a tier that gives you two packages of sleeves per month for being a $10 patron. So if that's something you're interested in, just go check out the site and purchase a Modern Masters 2017 box. Maybe sign up for Patreon. Maybe buy a playmat or buy cards from me. All of that is going to get the sleeves done. As soon as the sleeves done, then we're going to work on deck boxes. As soon as the deck boxes are done, maybe we'll work on some other cool little branding things. Because again, the whole Rogue Deck Builder I want to make as a community. We're working on the site. We're tirelessly working on the site right now that we're going to implement our own Rogue, our own deck builder, meaning that you can come submit your own decks on roguedeckbuilder.com, and very similar to all the other sites that have in-house deck building. So be looking forward to that. All these things do cost money, and just being transparent with everything. So anyway, speaking of cards or masteries, or how do I transition from that? The next Miracle Claw is Temporal Mastery. This is another mythic. I do believe this has like this is quite not an expensive card, but it's what, $8? It's been forever since I've looked at Temporal Mastery's price. Maybe I should get a little tab going here for the MTG Goldfish. And we'll do Temporal Mastery. All right, so Temporal Mastery, come on, load, is going to run us at... we'll get the prices here. Whatever reason, it's not loading. So next one I want to talk about, then, I guess with Temporal Mastery, this does go in an actual modern deck. It take all the turns. Temporal Mastery is a staple in that deck. The Miracle is incredibly strong with this. There is ways to set it up again by discarding it and then casting it if it's Miracle cost. The problem is you can't do that over and over because it does exile itself, which of course is great design. Don't want infinite turns happening. But again, it does see play in the modern Take Extra Turns deck. The next one is the reprint that everyone was looking forward to, is Damnation. I think I talked about in another video. Damnation is probably going to be the one that crashes the most. The price of Damnation was never justified. It was always very expensive. Okay, we got Temporal Mastery up here. So Temporal Mastery, yeah, it was $8, $9. But look at Damnation. Damnation is a card that was only in Planar Chaos and some other Judge promos, and the whole reason it got so expensive is right there. Planar Chaos is one of the most dismally printed, so the supply run of this is so small. I mean, it's almost comparable with like Unhinged and Unglued. The whole reason why some of the cards that got expensive over, I mean, even like Portal cards, is that it just wasn't printed. This is when Magic was, I believe, at its lowest, and the trust, the popularity of the game was super, super low. Not a lot of Damnations out there. And I think that this one is by far, it's pre-selling for $40. No, this is a trap. It's a rare card. This is going to go all the way down to like $7, $8, I would say. Unless price memory keeps it higher for the time period, I cannot see this holding a $40 price tag, let alone even a $20 price tag. This is a sideboard card in a few decks here and there. Usually one-ofs or two-ofs in the sideboard. So, I mean, it has seen even legacy play, I guess, but just click on an Abzan list here, and you're gonna see Damnations Just, yep, one of in the sideboard. You cannot tell me that a one of in the sideboard can hold that type of price tag. We see some things like engineered explosives too, holding a high price tag. It's the same reason. These are very, very, very low print runs. I mean, there are more mythics from Return to Ravnica onward than there are rares from the Planar Chaos and those time period type cards. So I highly think in a speculation standpoint that you avoid this card like the plague. It is going to, if you get these copies, sell them immediately. They're not going to hold that price tag. Card that is also going to fall just because of its rarity, but I think is really healthy for a lot of the archetypes around it, is Goblin Guide. Goblin Guide means there's already been an Eidolon buyout. Looking at you, Lengthy Zemet, he went and bought out, what'd you say, like 350 of them on TCG, just in anticipation that it will go up because of Goblin Guide. Eidolon of Great Revel will go up just because it's the next most expensive card in the deck, and now if you actually get the expensive piece, it's going to make mono red burn, which is very viable. You don't need the Boros Charms and you don't need the Atarka's Commands. It's just a little bit of oomph. But if you're really looking for a budget deck in Modern, you can scrap the fetch lands, you can scrap the shock lands and all those things. Just play all mountains, Goblin Guide, Eidolon of Great Revel, and what's the other? And Monastery Swiftspear for your creatures, and then you have Lightning Bolt. You have Lava Spike still, you have Rift Bolt, you have Searing Blood, you have a few other cards that you can go a little bit higher in the converted mana costs that are still very reasonable to push the damage through. You can even get like Keldon Marauders to help out, or the other Unearth guy, the 3/1 Trample Haste Unearth. Yeah, isn't that the one for 2 mana? Whatever, Hellspark Element, is it Hellspark Element? No, that's a 1-drop. Can't think of the card at the moment, but all those can help out for a budget-based deck for Modern. When I got into Modern, those type of decks were everywhere. You'd even see like Ball of Lightning in those type of decks, just because it's very easy to push out a lot of damage and still be competitive with a mono-red budget-based deck. And I think Goblin Guide is going to really help this down. It'll probably push its price tag down to about $20. What is it, like 35 right now? So yeah, so I highly think of looking at that archetype and picking up some of those other pieces if they're not reprinted in the set, like the Lava Spike, like the Rift Bolt, like the what's another one? Well, especially those ones, because those ones will go up in value. They're commons that are already very difficult to find at this moment. A card that is not difficult to find is Primal Command. It was just reprinted in a Commander set not too long ago, I believe, as well as the Dual deck. Primal Command is something that is now, this printing is just going to kill its value. It's probably going to go down to a 50-cent rare. Very cool card though. Speaking of the Thragtus deck, Primal Command Eternal Witness is one of my favorite combos in Modern, as you Eternal Witness to get back Primal Command, as well as like gain 7 life, or go get another Eternal Witness, and you can just like kind of lock them out. Eternal Witness gives you 2 more devotion towards your Night, those Shrine of Nyx. And this is especially one of my favorite combos is, so you put a target non-creature permanent back on top of this library, so you put a land back on top of your opponent's library, you get back Primal Command with Eternal Witness, and then search your library for another Eternal Witness. So you just rinse and repeat until you're out of Eternal Witnesses. And then there's even a few other cards that you can start doing that with, what we call the Primal Command lock. If there's any way to flicker your Eternal Witness, you can just keep doing that indefinitely. And at that point, you just have so much devotion, you just start to beat down your opponent. So I love the card. It's definitely Modern playable, but it's not going to hold a price tag just to how many times it's been reprinted. Path to Exile, another card that desperately needed a reprint. I think this will shift it back down to the $6 to $8 range with this reprinting. But Path to Exile is one of the most played cards in the set, or in the format, and so it will, of course, keep creeping back up. This is a card that has to be reprinted very, very frequently, just because of how much this card sees play. Another card, that Lightning Bolt's another one of those. They want to keep it at a low cost. It's insanely used, so just keep reprinting it, so I'm glad I got a reprint in this one. Deadeye Navigator, this is one I did speculate on quite a bit just for Commander. This is cool in this set because now you can blink Thragtus for a limited environment. I think the speculators have really not liked Deadeye Navigator as a target. It's so heavily played in Commander, but it's on the watch list for banning. So people have been a little bit concerned about Deadeye Navigator just because they know any day that it could be banned in Commander. So it's going to be fun. It's a bulk rare. It's going to go back to bulk rare price though. A little bit above bulk rare price, as it doesn't see any competitive play, but does see a lot of cool casual and, of course, EDH commander play. Inquisition of Kozilek. Inquisition of Kozilek, this is 2 printings in a row. It's still in Conspiracy. This should really kill the price of Inquisition, but again, it's another card that is heavily played in Modern, so this should make a lot of decks a lot more accessible, looking at like Jund, Abzan, 8-Rack, the tokens, black-white tokens. A lot of these formats use Inquisition of Kozilek. A lot of them like it over Thoughtsieze because in Modern it usually hits most of those. I know that Thoughtsieze is starting to get a little bit of a boost just because it is very good against Eldrazi, Eldrazi Tron especially, where Inquisition is not. And therefore, you know, it's a dead card versus a tier 1 deck right now. So that should shift the price down as well as the reprint. And it could boost up Thoughtsieze just because now this might not be it's just not the ideal card for this slot. So look at Thoughtseizes at $11. I think that they finally flatlined out. Thoughtseize out of Theros is probably the right time to pick it up. And I think that I'll probably be trading my fetch lands for Thoughtseizes or some of these other cards like Damnation for Thoughtseizes. Definitely going to be... I mean, Theros still has tons of supply out there. 11 is still quite high for a rare out of a set like Theros. But I think that I don't see Thoughtseize going down much lower than 11. And I think I like to pick up cards when they have flatlines. So let me just show you that really quickly. The Thoughtseize is 100% flatlined here. And is at 11. Oh, it's starting to tick up. So after yesterday, it's starting to tick up. It's been flat for forever. I got out of Thoughtseize after the hype around here. I went to a Grand Prix and sold them all for $18, which was crazy that the vendors were taking them for 18 because there was some sort of misguided notion that this was going to skyrocket because of Modern. And we did see huge Modern growth up to this point, and then 2016 was just dismal for Modern growth for a lot of these staples that had high print runs. The only thing that went up in Modern during that time period was decks that currently did not see play that did become tier 1 decks, like the Eldrazi decks, the Death Shadow, those type of decks that saw a lot of play during that time period. But a lot of staple decks like Jund, a lot of their cards that were key pieces went down, which is just showed you the health of Modern at that time period, or just the amount of supply for some of these staple cards. So I think that Thoughtseize is a great time to invest because Inquisition, the value of decks, of course, shifts. The more people in the cheaper the card prices, the more people enter the format. The more people that enter the format, the more something has to go up. And I think that Thoughtseize is going to be one of those cards out of the Abzan, Jund, Grixis that is going to get a start to see a steady incline. I don't think they want this in another standard set ever again. It tends to ruin standards just because of how powerful the card is, especially when you have a card on turn 2 like Pack Rat to set it up. Any sort of strategy that wants to stick around is going to be incredibly oppressive in a standard type block. So anyway, that is my pick for one of the cards you should invest in. Molten Rain had been ticking up for quite a while and then started going down because of decks where there wasn't really a tier 1 strategy that you really needed to kill a specific land, maybe Eldrazi to a point. But I think it's down to $1.50. This is going to kill the price, half it. It's going to be 75 cents. Might of Old Krosa, this is an $8 card that needs reprinted for Infect. Infect did get a little bit of a nerf with Gitaxian Probe. In fact, the Gitaxian Probe was a bigger nerf than people expected, as Infect has been replaced with Death Shadow as the premier aggro deck. Might should help at least budget people get back in the format, because you can build a very budget version of the Infect, and Might of Old Krosa is perfect for that. Venser does see play every now and again in some lock decks. But Venser is more of an EDH casual type card. I do believe it does have a hefty price tag. Let's look that one up real quickly. The Venser is at the top. Nope. Jeez. Venser doesn't. There it is. Shaper's Servant or Savant. So yeah, $18 rare. But again, this is low price because of Future Sight. And it wasn't from the vaults as well, but yeah, it's already pre-selling for 10, so almost half the value of what it is. I think about $5 is probably right for Venser. But again, it's a very, very powerful card. You return to a spell or permanent so much chance. You can bounce or you can remand basically counter. And then it's pretty decent in Flash itself. It also goes in some of these like tax-based decks. Control-based ones will run Inventor. Because it doesn't, like, it even gets around some cards that can't be countered because you're returning it back. It's a very versatile card. Has a 2/2 body, very similar to Reflector Mage in power level. One more, of course, is the cost of it. But, yeah, insanely good tempo-based card. So, long term, I think if Venser goes down to $3 or $4 or $5, I think it's good to pick up in Modern Masters, but I think it's a little bit overvalued at the moment. The rest of these, Harmonize and Goblin Assault, those are just going to be, Harmonize right now will go down. I think it's like a $2 or $3 card, and of course it will go down. Domri is going to get murdered in value. This card does see play, though. People are like mad about Domri, but Domri is actually one of the very few Planeswalkers, especially if the focal point is going to be Return to Ravnica block and Innistrad block. I would say if they wanted 1-1, it'd be Liliana and Domri. Like, I really agree with this, because where are the Planeswalker you're going to get from the Ravnica block? Which one are you going to pick? The Vraska or Jace? I don't think so. I think Domri has the most play in Modern. If you look at all of the Planeswalkers from that time period, I highly don't think there's been a card that, at least a Planeswalker that saw more play. So I 100% agree with it. If they're going to go back further, then maybe you could make the argument for getting like old school Venser or Koth or what's another card, or I really thought it was going to be Garrick is who they were going to pick for this. But there was really a Garrick. There probably wasn't a good Garrick target because you could have the theme of Garrick versus Liliana in Modern Masters. But anyway, I think that Domri's a great pick for that. Of course, they need the bulk Planeswalker. This can be the bulkier Planeswalker. Zerth the Enchanter. This is a really good EDH card. It does see play every now and again in a Modern deck that does try to get a bunch of enchantments on it. A Geist of St. Travis Zerth the Enchanter deck has seen play before. So it's a nice little rare pickup. I think it is over a $10 card. This will kill its price, though, but EDH players should be happy. I think this is an incredibly popular Commander deck, especially in the color combinations. Usually every play group has a Zur. We have the Stoic Angel. That's about the filler rare as it gets. I think it's already gone down to almost $1, less than bulk price. Terminate's in here. Great little card. It started to creep up in value to $5. I knew I should get rid of the damn things. I've got so many of these. Terminate's one of those cards you find when you buy collections like crazy, especially old collections. You find so many Terminates in there that people just don't understand that it's worth money. Rocksworm Monk. Cool card in limited for sure. Lifelink 3/4. It actually has seen play in some Bant decks before, believe it or not, because the 3/4 body for 3 dodges Lightning Bolt. That's actually pretty good. I think it's worse with Fatal Push and Abrupt Decay, starting to see a lot more play in the current metas with Sultai and Abzan getting more popular. 4 mana, 4/4 flyer. Again, great limited card. Sedaxric Spectre. This is another card that I have a deck with, which is a Waste Not Unearth deck, which is insanely fun to play. And the unearthing it, returning this creature from your graveyard to the battlefield, has a lot of ways like Prized Amalgam to trigger. So I like this card a lot. And wasn't it a rare before? Anyway, I think it's a sweet card. I'll show you a brew with this coming up with Sedaxric Spectre, and I think you'll enjoy it as it's a really, really fun deck, and it has it combos so good with Waste Not, because usually you make your opponent discard a land, then you add 2 black mana to your mana pool, then you can nurse Sedaxric Spectre, get 3 damage, and trigger off Waste Not again. So, love this card with Waste Not. I'll show you that brew. Amazingly fun. I don't know, a lot of times I have never been able to be competitive with Waste Not, but I have a few brews that might actually be at least fun and F&M worthy. I'll say, I'll make that. That's the problem, though, with Magic, is a lot of times it's very hard to compete with Tier 1 decks because they're Tier 1 decks for a reason. So I don't expect much out of it, but if you're looking for a fun deck, I'll have this out, either for Gathering Magic series or I'll show it on my channel. I'm going to try to be doing more deck techs. Once we get that deck builder up at Rogue Deck Builder, I'll probably start doing a lot because it will incentivize stuff. We're going to try to start a store, and so it's just, it'll actually motivate me to do stuff. Another card that has seen play every now and again is Sprouting Thrynax. This has seen play in the Jund before, just because it's a creature. It's a 3/3 creature, dies, you get 3/1/1 sapling tokens. Really, really good in the mirror versus Liliana, because this is a mess versus Liliana. So I have actually seen this before. in the modern format, so I think that's a great pickup. All of these like 3-color cards, I think they chose the right slots for them. They're all really, really fun. Woolly Thoctor 2. This has seen play in Zoo before, believe it or not. A 5/4 for 3 mana, especially off a Noble Hierarch on turn 2, is a pretty formidable card. 5/4, that's four turns in Modern. Most likely more like 3 turns, because Fetch Shock, you're already, a lot of times Fetch Shock's Thoughtsieze, you're down to 15. Whew! Last card is Grafdigger's Cage. This has been creeping up in value. This is a great reprint, needed to happen. This might be a little bit of insight into Rest in Peace not getting a reprint. I am glad I didn't pull the trigger on Rest in Peace. I had a ton up at really, really low value. I think I was selling them all for like $3-4. And I decided that it was not worth the risk. Rest in Peace, I just thought was not, I don't know. I don't see Grafdiggers and Rest in Peace in the same thing. So I don't see Stony Silence getting a reprint either now, without much of an artifact theme in the set. So yeah, those are cards we'll have to wait and see with Rest in Peace. But right now, that might be a card to really keep your eye on. If it doesn't get a reprint, it's gonna keep going up. It's the perfect card. It was another one of my specs that I spec'd into for $1 that has made me some pretty decent returns. I love sideboard cards. Sideboard cards, Howled Moonlight's another one. Those are the type of cards that just get better and better as time goes on, as people overlook them because it's just a sideboard slot. Who needs a sideboard slot? Looking at you, Tidebinder Mage. Come on, Merfolk, win me another Grand Prix and have 1 main boarded Tidebinder Mage and 3 in the sideboard like last time. I need that. I have over like 350 copies of Tidebinder Mage, but I really got screwed because it was a main board card that then the Harbinger of Tides got reprinted or printed, and it just kind of replaced that slot. So anyway, Grafdigger's Cage. Everyone knows this is really good versus Dredge, really good versus a lot of other cards. We talked about the fetch lands. Fetch lands are great. It's going to reduce the cost of basically every deck in Modern. These cards were starting to creep up, especially ones that didn't get reprinted in this Commander set. So I'm glad that we got the full cycle. People need them as in high. They're really helpful for this particular set, and I'm hoping that I mean, these are great for Commander. Don't throw, like, a lot of people. You go to like a Grand Prix or even some tournaments, people just leave their stuff around. This is a card you want to take out before you leave your draft trash around, because these will probably in 2 to 3 years, if they don't get another reprint, multiple reprints, they'll start creeping back up to the $1-2 range, and so you want to keep a hold of these. Guildgates, the last cards, nothing of course spicy about these. That's the gist of it. I try to give my market perspective on these. If I missed anything, any blatant thing about this, let me know in the comment section below. I'll try to keep you updated with other spoilers. I know this is a very long video, and people complain about it, but I like to give my insight. I think that's what I have over these other YouTube creators that are just like, "Wow, Tom Replayed! Wow, Zer the Enchanter, cool!" I mean, like, what the hell is the purpose of that deck? Everyone can Google. That's the thing. So I think that giving my rogue standpoint on this and just interacting with how my perspective, how I view the Magic the Gathering scene, is hopefully worthwhile to you. Again, as always, thanks for watching, and looking forward to your comments in the comment section below. Once again, we have Modern Masters booster box up at 200. I'd really, really appreciate some sales. It really goes to help a good cause. And I mean, I'm going to transition. Local game stores are dead. I'm going to really just keep my local game store up as an avenue to order product. And now my local game store is literally my man cave. So I think we're going to, try to transition over to an online shop and see how well it goes. So I appreciate all the support. You guys are amazing. Coming up on, I believe, an anniversary, so I'm going to try to be doing a lot of giveaways and things like that to all the fans. I know that I'm not the biggest YouTube channel, but I have some of the most fiercely loyal and just awesome fans out there. Everyone says that, but yeah, you guys build rogue decks. Screw the net decks. Screw all those things. Appreciate all the support. Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.